Welcome to NBL Travel Documentary. Number 1. Inside Bangkok's Forgotten Heart. When people think of Bangkok, they picture glittering lights and rooftop bars. Neon reflections ripple across the Chao Phraya River. High-end malls where time slips by in the soft hum of air conditioning. Skyscrapers stab at the clouds. Traffic jams that pulse like veins through a living, breathing machine of a city. But just 4 kilometers away, everything changes. Hop on a tuk-tuk, and in less than 15 minutes, the skyline fades. The polished glass gives way to rusted tin. Sidewalks vanish. The noise shifts from engine roars to the clatter of metal pots, a baby crying, a dog barking from behind a sheet of wood. You've entered Khlong Toei, Thailand's largest informal settlement. Or, as one local quietly told us, this is Bangkok's other side, the one no one wants to look at, but we live it every day. Nestled beside the city's bustling port, Khlong Toei sits both at the heart of the capital and the edge of society. With over 100,000 residents packed into an area just under 2 square kilometers, this community is denser than many of Bangkok's wealthiest neighborhoods. But here, homes aren't measured in square footage, they're measured in inches of space between walls that sweat during the day and leak at night. Corrugated roofs lean like tired shoulders. Plywood, tarps, and memory hold the walls together. Beneath the alleys, a city breathes not in silence, but in survival. How did this urban labyrinth come to be? The story begins in the 1950s, when Thailand's post-war economy surged. Bangkok's port became a magnet for laborers. Thousands of migrants, many from the rural northeast, the Isan region, flooded in with nothing but hope and hands ready for work. But the city was never built to house them. So they built for themselves. No permits, no architects, just bamboo poles, metal scraps, and urgency. Over time, the settlement became a village, the village became a maze, and the maze became a living contradiction. Today, Khlong Toei is a place where children play soccer beside high-rises, where laundry hangs beside cranes, and where poverty sleeps beside prosperity, often separated only by a wall or a river or a silence. But this isn't just a story about geography. It's a story about humanity, about how cities grow tall and forget to look down. Because even in one of Southeast Asia's most visited capitals, there are places that exist without being seen. And this is only the beginning of Khlong Toei's story. Number 2. Life between tin roofs and flooded alleys. Step into the narrow veins of Khlong Toei, and suddenly, you're not in the Bangkok of Instagram. Gone are the infinity pools and golden temples. Here, roofs are made from scrap metal and memories. Walls are patched with banners from old political campaigns. Electricity hums through illegal lines, a spiderweb of wires that buzz above your head, dangerously close. Homes here aren't constructed, they're assembled. Corrugated iron sheets lean like tired shoulders. Plastic tarps serve as ceilings. Inside, a family of 5 might sleep on the same thin mat, in a room barely wider than an office cubicle. Sometimes it rains inside more than it rains outside, one resident laughed, pointing up to a leak in her roof. But what can we do? We keep living. Clean water is a privilege. Sanitation, an afterthought. Most alleys are damp year-round. Trash piles up in corners no one claims. The smell? A mix of stagnant water, overripe fruit, sweat, and smoke. When the monsoon comes, and it always does, the water rises waist-high, and people just keep walking through it. Because they have to. Children leap across puddles to get to school, if they're lucky enough to go. Vendors wade through flooded alleys with carts of grilled bananas or plastic toys, and in the background, the port keeps rumbling, cranes lifting containers like nothing is happening just blocks away. For most here, work isn't a career, it's whatever you can do to survive today. Some carry heavy sacks at the port, others push carts in the city. Many collect recyclables from garbage heaps, hoping to earn just enough to buy rice and gas for the next meal. A recent report from the Bangkok Metropolitan Administration states that over 70% of adults in Khlong Toei work in the informal sector, without contracts, protections, or pensions. Most earn less than 120 Thai baht a day, about $3. Savings? There are none. Insurance? Just luck. Yet despite everything, the floods, the fumes, the fatigue, life refuses to give up here. You'll hear music drifting from radios propped on windowsills. You'll see toddlers splashing in puddles as if they were swimming pools. And you'll witness a kind of joy that doesn't wait for perfect conditions to exist. A grandmother hunched over a sack of cans. A young mother frying rice beside an open drain. Children chasing each other barefoot through the mud, their laughter bouncing off the tin walls like echoes of defiance. Because here in Khlong Toei, resilience isn't a slogan, it's survival made graceful. But the question still lingers, quietly, behind every smile and every soaked step. For how long can they hold on, without help? Number 3. Underneath the surface, the hidden crisis. Crime and gangs. Here, in the shadows of poverty, crime thrives like mold in the moisture. Petty theft is common, sometimes out of desperation, other times out of survival instinct honed from a lifetime of struggle. But the deeper rot, it's drugs. Methamphetamine, known locally as yaba, the crazy pill, flows into these alleys at a pace that alarms even the local police. A report by Thailand's Office of the Narcotics Control Board in 2025 shows over 50% of meth arrests in Bangkok originate from 3 districts, and Khlong Toei is always on the list. Some corners of the slum are considered no-go zones even by police. Controlled by local gangs, these areas operate under their own rules. Outsiders, especially journalists or government workers, are watched closely and sometimes not allowed to walk out. These gangs don't just run drugs, they extort, smuggle, and in some cases, recruit children as lookouts or errand boys. It's a dangerous economy where fear is the currency. A resident once whispered to us, "There are places here where even light doesn't go." And yet, it's important to say, not everyone in Khlong Toei is part of this. Many residents live in fear not of the poverty, but of the power these groups hold. It's a war waged in silence, and in places like this, silence can be deadly to addiction and violence. When the sun sets over Khlong Toei, life doesn't slow down, it shifts into another rhythm. In the alleys where children played just hours ago, a different energy rises, one shaped by tension and by youth left without direction. In a place where opportunities are scarce and dreams often get buried under survival, many young people here grow up with few choices, and when school becomes a luxury, not a right, and jobs are out of reach, the streets start to speak louder. Some are pulled into unhealthy paths, not out of rebellion, but out of boredom, peer pressure, or just wanting to feel something real. According to data from the Thai Ministry of Public Health, as of early 2025, rates of substance issues among teens in low-income urban areas have increased by nearly 20% over the last 5 years. And it's not just substances, it's the violence of hopelessness. Arguments flare up fast in overcrowded spaces, tensions spill out at night, sometimes between neighbors, sometimes between groups of young people. It's not always criminal, but it is always tragic. One school counselor told us, "These kids aren't bad, they're just unheard." And that's the quiet crisis unfolding here, not just what's happening, but what's missing. Missing guidance, missing safe spaces, missing second chances. But even in that darkness, some are trying to change the story. Community centers, grassroots mentors, youth programs run by people who grew up in Khlong Toei and chose to return, not to escape their past, but to rewrite its ending. The question is, will they get the support they need before another generation fades into the shadows? Polluted environment. If there's one thing you can't escape in Khlong Toei, it's the smell. The thick, sour humidity hangs in the air, clinging to your skin like a second layer. In the heat of Bangkok's dry season, when temperatures regularly cross 40 degrees Celsius or 104 degrees Fahrenheit, the stench becomes overwhelming. Wastewater from homes flows directly into the narrow canals. There is no formal sewage system here, just open drains, often clogged where gray water swirls with plastic bags, food scraps, and sometimes even discarded furniture. Trash collection is irregular at best, and when the bins overflow, the waste spills into alleys, into yards, and eventually into the Chao Phraya River. According to a 2025 report by Bangkok's Environmental Department, Khlong Toei contributes to over 12% of the city's unregulated domestic waste, despite occupying less than 1% of the city's land area. That's not because residents don't care, it's because the system doesn't reach them. No proper waste management, no filters, no access to basic sanitation services. And the price? They breathe it, they live in it, they grow up beside it. We met a boy, no older than 8, who pointed to a pile of black sludge near his home and said, "That's our river." Then he laughed, because to him it was normal. But it shouldn't be. Because no one, especially not children, should grow up thinking that polluted canals are just part of life. That rotting garbage is part of their playground. The environmental crisis in Khlong Toei isn't just about trash, it's about neglect, about what happens when a city's development leaves entire communities outside the plan. And unless something changes, the waste will keep rising, and so will the cost. Health and disease. In Khlong Toei, getting sick isn't just unfortunate, it's dangerous. Most families here can't afford private clinics, and the nearest public hospital, overcrowded and underfunded, it's not uncommon for patients to wait hours only to be told to come back tomorrow. For many, the local pharmacy or a borrowed painkiller becomes their doctor. And when medical care is out of reach, something else takes its place: vulnerability. Outbreaks are frequent. Dengue fever, carried by mosquitoes that breed in stagnant water, is a seasonal threat. So is diarrhea, caused by poor sanitation and unsafe drinking water. Skin infections, especially among children, are widespread due to humidity, mold, and constant exposure to polluted environments. In a 2025 report by Thailand's Ministry of Public Health, urban slum areas like Khlong Toei show infection rates up to 4 times higher than the city average, especially among children under 10. But these aren't just numbers, these are real people, caught in a cycle of illness without access to care. We spoke to a local mother who said, "When my child had a fever, I wrapped him in a wet towel. I couldn't afford the hospital, we just waited and prayed." While charity clinics and mobile health units do what they can, it's a drop in an ocean of need. What this community needs isn't just medicine, it's equity, access, dignity. Because healthcare should not be a privilege measured by where you were born or what street you call home. Number 4, trapped in poverty, denied by the system. In Khlong Toei, education doesn't end at the classroom door, it ends at the front door of poverty. Many children here never finish school, not because they lack intelligence, not because they're lazy, but because they simply can't afford to keep learning. Some can't pay for uniforms, others skip meals to make sure their younger siblings eat. Most are needed at home, not to do homework, but to help work. "I dropped out in grade 6, says a boy named Nat, age 14. "I wanted to stay, I liked math, but my mom got sick. I had to sell fruit at the intersection instead." According to UNICEF Thailand, children from informal settlements like Khlong Toei are 3 times more likely to leave school before grade 9 than their peers elsewhere in Bangkok. And when school stops, the street starts teaching. It teaches how to hustle, how to read people, how to survive, but it doesn't teach how to break the cycle. Meanwhile, their parents, many of whom grew up in the very same alleys, live with the weight of choices they never had. No diploma, no certifications, no stable work. So they sweep markets, push carts, work construction jobs with no contracts. It's hard work, honest work, but it rarely lifts them above the poverty line. And when a medical bill or rent spike hits, the entire household collapses like a tin shack in the wind. This isn't just about money. It's about how the system quietly locks people in place. Many families in Khlong Toei, no Phili, Tagoos, have no legal proof of address, no house title, no land rights. So when government aid comes, like free housing, job training, or education support, they fall through the cracks. No documents, no access. No access, no way out. Even their address becomes a stigma. Employers see Khlong Toei and think, trouble. Banks see it and deny loans. Society sees it and looks away. I tried applying for a cleaner job at a hotel, one woman told us. They looked at my address and said, we don't hire from there. So the cycle repeats. No schooling, no formal job, no savings, no security. It's like running on a treadmill that never stops, always moving, but never going forward. And yet, incredibly, some keep running anyway. They dream of sending their children farther than they could go. They join night classes, they learn skills, they keep hope alive, even if it flickers in a dark alley lit only by secondhand light bulbs. But here's the uncomfortable truth. Until society stops judging people by where they live, until systems start working for those who need them most, no one escapes this cycle alone. Number 5. Humanity among the ruins. In the darkest corners of Khlong Toei, where mold creeps up the walls and hope sometimes hides, there is still light. Not the kind that comes from city plans or charity headlines, but a softer kind, a human kind. You see it in the way neighbors look after each other, without agenda, without asking. When one family's roof caves in, others bring nails and hammers. When a child is left home alone, the alley mothers take turns watching. In here, we don't have much, one resident tells us, but we have each other, and sometimes that's more powerful than money. These small acts of compassion don't make the news, but they keep the community alive. And then there are the sparks. The teenage girl who works nights selling noodles to pay her tuition and still finds time to tutor kids in her alley on weekends. The young man who once ran with the wrong crowd, but now volunteers with a football program to keep boys like him from making the same mistakes. If no one believed in me, I wouldn't be here, he says, so I want to be that person for someone else. Outside forces are stepping in too, not with grand gestures, but with presence. Doctors give up their weekends to offer free checkups. Nurses treat wounds not just with medicine, but with kindness. In an old shipping container at the edge of the slum, a woman teaches tailoring to single mothers who thought they'd never hold a needle, let alone a new future. According to Thailand's Social Development Office, there are now over 80 grassroots initiatives active in Bangkok's slum communities, many of them rooted right here in Khlong Toei. Some offer free education, others teach skills cooking, welding, coding. Most of them are run by locals, for locals, because no one understands the needs here better than those who've lived them. We step into one of the makeshift classrooms. There's no air conditioning, just fans buzzing and chalkboards stained with years of effort. But on the wall, someone has painted a line in bold letters. Even if the system forgets us, we won't forget each other. These aren't just heartwarming moments, they are evidence that even in broken places, humanity is never completely lost. Because maybe hope doesn't need to shout. Maybe it just needs to be seen. There go. Number 6. Slum tourism, ethical or exploitative. As Khlong Toei becomes more visible to the world, a new kind of controversy has emerged. It's called slum tourism. Several tour companies now offer guided walks through this community. Visitors, mostly foreigners, are led down narrow alleys, shown how people live. To some, it's framed as educational travel or reality-based tourism. But to others, it feels different. It feels wrong. Critics argue that these tours turn poverty into a spectacle, that they reduce real human struggle into photo ops, that when visitors come, take pictures and leave, they risk treating someone's everyday hardship as entertainment. One activist put it bluntly, "Would you want strangers walking through your living room just to see how poor you are?" But the story doesn't end there, because others see it differently. They argue, you can't care about what you never see. Understanding must come before empathy. Some tour operators work closely with the community, donate proceeds to local schools, or partner with NGOs to support healthcare and housing projects. Some residents even welcome the chance to share their stories in their own voice, on their own terms. It's not a clear line. The truth is, the ethics of slum tourism depend on one thing. Is it exploitative or is it educational? Is it a show or a bridge? Maybe, just maybe, it can be both, if done with respect, transparency, and genuine care. Because at the heart of it, what matters isn't just that people come to see. It's what they do afterward that counts. Number 7. Khlong Toei's future. What does hope look like? So what lies ahead for Khlong Toei? For years now, Bangkok authorities have proposed ambitious plans to redevelop the entire area, transforming it into a modern urban space with better housing, sanitation, and infrastructure. On paper, it sounds like a dream. But in reality, that dream is tangled in legal and financial knots. Many residents don't have land titles. Their homes, built decades ago on government property, are technically unofficial. That means no compensation, no relocation rights, and no legal protection. And so, the promises remain promises. Meanwhile, the people wait, stuck between hope and uncertainty. What they ask for isn't extravagant, it's simple, it's fair. A place to move to, not a tent, but a real home. A way to earn a living, not handouts, but jobs that offer dignity. A school for their kids, so they can break the very cycle we've talked about. Because without those things, redevelopment becomes just another word for displacement. And that leads us to one powerful question, one that echoes far beyond the borders of Khlong Toei. Can a city truly be sustainable if its most vulnerable are left behind? Bangkok wants to shine, but a city's greatness isn't measured by how high its towers rise, it's measured by how well it lifts up those at the bottom. If Khlong Toei is given the chance, not just to survive, but to evolve, then maybe, just maybe, this slum won't be remembered for its poverty, but for its strength, its stories, and its transformation. We didn't come here to shock you. We didn't come here to romanticize hardship. We came to tell the truth. This is Khlong Toei, not the Thailand of glossy travel brochures, but the one that lives and breathes behind the skyline, a place where struggle and strength exist side by side in every alley, every face, every unspoken dream. And maybe, just maybe, it asks us to see the world a little differently. Because travel isn't only about beautiful temples or tropical beaches. Sometimes, it's about sitting in the heat of someone else's reality, hearing their story, and realizing that underneath it all, we are not so different. So the next time you pack a bag, board a plane, or plan a trip, ask yourself, are you only here to see? Or are you also here to understand? If this story moved you, even just a little, take a moment to reflect and maybe share that reflection with someone else. At NVL Travel Documentary, we believe that the world isn't just meant to be seen. It's meant to be felt, understood, remembered. If you'd like to explore more untold stories, the kind that live behind the headlines and beyond the tourist trails, feel free to subscribe, leave a thought in the comments, or simply give this video a like. Not for the numbers, but because every conversation, every voice, helps bring these stories closer to the light. Thank you for watching. We'll see you where the next story begins.